All right, folks, so let's go ahead and get started talking about World War One. Here's your essential question. You can write this down on your butcher paper. All right. Why? Write this down. You can maybe put it by your name, but just make sure you just have it because this will be our guiding point. Everybody writes this down. Yeah. Why did the United States? Why did the United States join World War One? And why did the United States join World War One? And what were the lasting effects? Why did the United States join World War One? And what were the lasting effects? Okay, so that's our guiding. That's what we want to be able to have answered by the time we get done. And that's your essential questions. Why did the United States join World War One? And what were the lasting effects? All right. All right, so we don't have to worry about this right here because, again, this was a homework assignment. You'll be doing the Cornell notes, which is linked right here for you. All right, so everybody, you're in the Nearpod. Go ahead and unpack these standards. So this is what we'll be covering today. So when I say unpack the standards, you're supposed to circle the nouns, underline the verbs. You're doing this in the Nearpod, so go ahead and do this real quick. We're covering standard 5A. We'll describe the movement of the United States neutrality to engagement in World War I, including unrestricted submarine warfare. Standard 15B. And again, you're underlining the verbs, circling the nouns. This will be done in the Nearpod. 50% of your grade is your notes. The other 50% is your grade and your participation here in the Nearpod. Explain the domestic impact of World War I, reflected by the origins of the Great Migration, the Espionage Act, and socialist Eugene Debs. 15C, explain Wilson's 14 points and debate over U.S. entry into the League of Nations. And then 16B is going to be describe the effects of the 18th and 19th Amendments. May not cover every last now you have here. We're going to cover majority of it, though, definitely today. Give you a couple more minutes to do that. Underline and circle. And again, 50% of your grade is with notes you take on your paper, and the other 50 is what you do here in the Nearpod. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Based on the conversations, we're ready to go. All right, so this is where you start taking your notes. The First World War is the first comment you want to have. All right, the what? The wars involving nearly all nations of the world. Everybody was fighting, and it lasted from 1914 to 1918. So the what? Everybody, right? When? 1914 to what? 1918. So lasts for how many years total? 4 years. So again, the what is everybody, and then the when is 1914, 1918. Nobody at this point should have a blank sheet of paper. And again, make sure y'all using marker because I can see that easily and clearly. But pencil, you may not get graded for it for using butcher paper. All right. So for the sake of time, I can't be here all day, can I? So make sure y'all pay attention. Let's keep moving. That sounds like more work. So just notes. It's not supposed to be perfect. As long as you know what you're supposed to say, that's all that matters. Yeah, notes are not perfect. It's just the idea of just make sure you knock it out. All right, so again, one more time before I move on. And again, I want y'all to understand the thing about y'all not doing homework at home when I do lecture videos is the fact that I go at a faster pace. I'm recording this so you can go back and look at it for your own preference, but can't stay that long. So the first war, it happened around the whole world and lasted from 1914 to 1918. Okay. The why. Yolanda, can you start reading the long-term reason, like the numbers 1, 2, and 3? So the reason why we had the war, everybody had weapons. And think about you, when you get a brand new toy or a brand new iPhone, the first thing you want to do is go play with it, right? So that's what they want to do. They want to play with their new weapons. If you remember what we did in Unit 4, we talked about imperialism. Everybody's trying to occupy land. So everybody's fighting over that land. And also the idea of alliance system. Everybody got friends. So everybody's trying to support each other. Is it right so far with me? Yes? Okay, good. Now, the short-term reason was pretty straightforward. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand. Now, you should have known that from world history. Not a big thing that we care about right now in U.S. history as far as just getting ready for our EOCs and things. But for a short-term reason, yeah, Austro-Hungary Empire killed Franz Ferdinand. They got blamed for it, which was one of the main reasons why you say World War started as far as on the European front. Okay. Any questions so far? Oh, good. All right. So now, who's involved? Mackenzie. Who was the Central Powers? Ottoman. Bulgaria. Yep. So now, so what I will put is I'll put CP for Central Powers. And again, everybody make sure you're still writing these notes. You're either doing Cornell, mind map, or outline notes. So the Central Powers are Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. So you think about Europe, it's that one little section. They all kind of around each other. The Allies, can I get, Ola, can you read that for us? Yes. So the Allies, so that means these are two different alliances that's fighting against each other. The Allies was Russia, but remember, Russia pulled out because of the Russian Revolution. Did I got me on that? Y'all saw that in the film, remember? Because Lenin came back and things of that nature. France, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, and then also the United States. But the United States did not join until 1917. They basically took the place of Russia. Is that right? Got me there? So these are the people now involved. And again, we can argue that's the most of the whole world because y'all think about their territory, things like that. I have a hard time finding documentation that Australia was involved, but I'm not saying it wasn't. But Australia definitely was involved in World War II because it was in the Pacific. I have a hard time finding stuff from World War I, though. All right, we good so far? Okay. Now, yeah, this is still the more the world history part. I'm just going to give you all the background before we keep going. There's going to be some pictures in here for us to fish and stuff like that, too. But this is what we got. So, Central Powers is Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria, and then the Allies are Russia, France, Great Britain, Italy, and Japan. And then the United States came in 1917, which, by no surprise, was the same time that Russia came out. All right, let's keep going. Now, if you're using devices, you always take screenshots, right? That's why I like y'all being able to use your devices, so always do that. All right, if you're on a school computer, you do a screenshot by doing Windows Shift S. Windows Shift S. All right, so where? Europe. That's where they're fighting at. There's no way to say it. They're fighting in Europe. If you look at this map here, particularly your devices, because you can maybe blow it up a little bit. The purple identifies here. So this is like the purple right here. That's the essential powers. Okay. That's like everybody except Italy. The green is going to be the allies. And then the orange are going to be countries that's neutral. Is that right, clear there? So this all you want to know is this in Europe, but you have, again, the essential powers being purple, the green being the allies, and then you have the neutral states being orange. And if you notice, the allies pretty much circle all of the essential powers. You don't ever want to fight a fight. Think about if you're on a street fight. You want to keep the person you're fighting in front of you. If they got friends, you don't back up because you want to keep everybody in front. You don't want nobody to get behind you, right? Everybody got me on that? It's the same thing in this case here. So you want to make sure you have a way to get out, in other words. And yes, oceans can be bad things because that's a barrier. That makes sense, everybody? Okay. Questions so far? So you're still on that First World War topic, to give you kind of background. All right. So now, why did it take so long for the United States to get involved? Well, straight up forward, it was isolationists. Who remembers what isolation means? Remember, the key word here is isolate. So what does it mean to be isolationist? Yeah, you separate yourself. That's all it is. The United States was very much still an isolationist nation. I mean, they was not being seen. They was not trying to deal with nobody else's problems. Everybody got me on that? And remember, that whole goes back to all the Monroe Doctrine. You stay out of our hemisphere, we stay out of yours. And now picture is a great one that shows you the Great World War because, look, the West Hemisphere was good, right? The other side wasn't so good. And they were like, that's why we isolate ourselves. We good so far. So that's one reason why it took us so long to get into the war. Remember, 1914 to 1918. We didn't get into 1917. Okay? All right. Here you take notes as you feel is needed. This is just more so details of what's going on with the war. I'm going to say that y'all should have got this in world history. The big thing I'm talking about is trench warfare. Y'all saw that when we watched Wonder Woman, and also yesterday when we talked about how Adolf Hitler was running back and forth for the trenches, right? That was his job. So trench warfare was a big thing. That's the reason why you had a stalemate, because everybody was basically killing each other and dying. Germany declared war on Russia in August 1st, 1914. Going backwards, July 29th is when Serbia protector Russia began to mobilize, and then in July 28th, 1914, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. So everybody's declaring war on everybody else. But as far as America, only 1/3 of the population were immigrants at this time. This right here, you write down as you need. This is all war history stuff. I'm going to assume y'all know some of this, okay? But the American response, right there's the American response. I'm going to kind of abbreviate it. Only 1 in 3 Americans population were immigrants from either German Americans or Irish. So that's saying we had some vested interest, but we wasn't really there, okay? Most of Americans did oppose Germany, but we were neutral. We wanted to remain peaceful. Did I got me on this? We did not want to be in this war. That's the key thing. Most Americans did not want to be in this war. It took things to make us get in this war. We didn't want to be in it. Did everybody got me on that? So right now, today's date is October 19th, 2023. There's a big war and conflict going on in Israel right now. Did everybody got me on that? And you're not hearing a big outcry from Americans as a whole. Did everybody got me on that? There's some people that care, but it's not a big outcry like, say, after 9/11. Y'all follow me on that? After 9/11, everybody, okay, let's go to war. We need to fight whoever did this. That outcry doesn't happen, you don't have a response. Does it make sense to everybody? And I'm saying that what's going on in Israel because many of y'all for your generation, this is the first war. It's not happening here, but understand what happens there affects us here, both economically and also socially, because y'all going to learn it's something called a draft. And every last one of y'all can be drafted, male and female. You go to jail. Just know, everybody can be drafted. Particularly if you're driving already. That means you already said okay to being drafted. Yeah, y'all pay attention to what y'all read, and you just say, I don't got my driver's license. Selective draft. All right. Time to think. So I'm going to give y'all about a minute or two to do this right here. Is isolation really an option for a country as powerful as the United States? This is opinion. Yes or no, and why? Do not give me no big old dissertation. Yes or no, or why? That's all I want to see. Yes or no, and why? Put that in your Nearpod. I'm going to hide y'all names. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. All right. Yes or no, and why? Excuse me. Is it really possible for someone like the United States to be isolated? And it's including what's going on right now today. We talk about what's going on in Israel. Like, is it really something we can be isolated from? A few more seconds here. All right. Thank you, everybody, for putting in your thoughts. If you haven't, just make sure you finish it up. You can definitely like other people that you agree with. Give you a couple seconds if you want to do that. Read what other people said. Sometimes I give like a prize to people that have most likes. All right. Quick little thinking. All right, let's go to our next one. All right, which side should the United States pick? This is not necessarily something you put in your notes, but you want to make sure you understand this. The United States was giving money to everybody. Does everybody got me on that? If you look at the bottom little chart, I'll tell you how much. So over time, you notice when the war first started, they was giving money to both sides. They was giving money to both Britain and Germany. Is everybody clear there? When we joined the war, we gave Germany a little bit less money. Does everybody see that? So they was giving money both to the Allies and the Central Powers. We go there. The Central Powers, you had 11 million German Americans here in the United States. You had Irish Americans who hated Great Britain. On the Allied side, you have very close cultural ties, meaning, Great Britain is still like there with us, okay? They shared transcontinental cables. That's important. In other words, meaning everybody can see what everybody's talking about. Does everybody got me on that? Does everybody follow? Okay. And then also big business loans to much of the Allies. So you might want to protect the money. Is everybody clear there? Either way, you're going to lose, but you don't want to lose that much money. It's important to understand the United States was giving goods and loans to both sides. Is everybody clear there? Because they were neutral, right? They had no leg in the race until they entered. So ultimately, we know what side they chose. But go ahead and put down what you would put. Which side do you think the United States should have picked based on economics? And there's obviously a right or wrong answer here, but go ahead and put that down for your response. Real quick, give you about 30 more seconds, starting now. And most of y'all picked correctly, the Allied powers. That's what they ultimately chose, right? Does everybody got me on that? They made sure they protected, okay, between the two, who had the most to give back? We had the Allied powers. All right. So, again, this is another version of the map of whose sides was who. We kind of talked about that already. All right, now, the stalemates. From 1914 to 1915, nothing happened. Everybody was just there and dying. Is everybody got me on that? Is everybody clear there? So I got a question. Y'all got the technology open right now. When was the Spanish flu? Somebody look that up. When was the Spanish flu? You got technology in front of you? I know the answer, but I'm trying to get you to know. You do want to add this to it, but when was the Spanish flu? 1918. So right towards the end of the war. Does everybody got me on that? That also kind of helped end the war, but also kind of helped lean towards it. The reason I mentioned Spanish flu, we all know what COVID is, right? Before there was COVID, there was a Spanish flu. Think about everything you know about COVID, the same thing happened with Spanish flu, but during a world war. Is everybody clear there? Is everybody got me? Technology was not nearly as good. Medicine was not nearly as good. A lot of people died. But again, COVID's granddaddy or grandmama was the Spanish flu. Does that make sense to everybody? So again, I'm just putting it out there because we're in the same time period. COVID was the first time it happened. All right, let's keep going. All right, so most people thought that the war would take weeks. It took 4 years. We good so far? Yes? Okay. All right. Came out there. Everybody thought we'd be home by Christmas. But here's the problem, too. Remember I told you there's reasons, right? Everybody had all those new toys. They wanted to go out and fight and kill each other. Think about how crazy that sounds. But again, I got a new machine gun. Never used it before. Let's see what happens. So it was a lot of death. People thought it was a great adventure. People just wanted to go out and use their new weapons. Is that right, clear there? And some of that new weapons, as you guys saw in the video, also was things like mustard gas. All right. All right, so we got a 3.5 minute video. You're going to have 4 questions to answer while you watch this video. Is everybody clear? Okay, so listen up. Let's go.
World War I, or the Great War, was the biggest war the Western world had ever seen. Many millions of soldiers and civilians were killed or wounded. New war technology escalated the war to new levels. But how did this tremendous war get started?
Causes of World War I, unpacked.
Imagine a forest after it rains. Someone lights a match and drops it on the forest floor. It's quickly snuffed out by the damp ground. Now imagine a forest during a drought. It's bone dry. Someone lights a match and drops it on the forest floor. What do you think will happen?
All right, everybody, just put NA here. Solely for the sake of time. Put NA there real quick. Remember, 50% of your grade is the Nearpod. The other 50% is what, y'all? The notes you do on your butcher paper. And I'll just take the averages, and that's what goes in the grade book. All right, let's keep going.
Just like a dry forest is primed for a fire, the conditions in Europe in 1914 were fit for a monumental conflict. One major cause of the war was imperialism. That's when a country takes control of other territories to gain wealth and power. Before World War I, many European countries were fighting to control territory on other continents. This created an atmosphere of competition and confrontation. Countries were also caught up in nationalism, each wanting to prove its superiority. Another major cause of the war, militarism. In the early 20th century, the Industrial Revolution led to technological advances throughout Europe, including more efficient manufacturing of tools, weapons, and airplanes. Countries like Great Britain and Germany were locked in an unofficial arms race, competing to develop a stockpile of military technology. Safe to say, tensions were high between nations. Alliances between countries also played a role in escalating the war. That may seem counterintuitive. I'll explain. See, several European countries had made mutual defense agreements, meaning if one country was attacked, its allies would come in to defend it. Because of these promises, World War I went from a war between just 2 countries, Serbia and Austria-Hungary, to a global conflict. Once Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, Russia jumped in to defend Serbia. Then Germany declared war on Russia, then France declared war on Germany and Austria-Hungary, Then Germany attacked France, so Great Britain stepped in. Then Japan came in to defend Great Britain. Later, Italy and the US would join the war as well.
All right, here's the question you're going to answer real quick. I'll give you about a minute to do it. Which cause do you think was the most responsible for the huge casualties of World War I? Your options are militarism, alliances, imperialism, or nationalism. And give me a very quick answer why. Pick one and very quick answer why. You have 1 minute starting now. Just want you to quick, whatever comes to mind. Don't worry about spelling. Just put it out there. All right, let's keep going.
Now that you understand the conditions before the war, let's talk about that event that lit the match. In June of 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated. Ferdinand was in line to become King of Austria-Hungary, which controlled Bosnia. Many Bosnians wanted out of Austria. They wanted to either form their own independent country or join Serbia. Ferdinand was visiting Bosnia when a Serbian nationalist shot and killed him. Austria-Hungary blamed the Serbian government for the assassination and soon declared war.
All right, very quick one here. Which of these was not an alliance? About 30 seconds. If you're just paying attention, the answer's going to be on the board, so no one should get this one wrong. You got this. All right, let's go ahead and finish the video. So the correct answer here was what? What was the answer? A. And what's that say? Serbia and Austria-Hungary. They were not part of the alliance.
Clearly, there wasn't just one cause of World War I. A confluence of events created the atmosphere for this global conflict: imperialism, nationalism, militarism, and complex alliances. Franz Ferdinand's assassination was the spark that got the whole war going. 4 years later, almost 40 million people were dead or wounded, and the global political, economic, and social climate had drastically shifted. What lessons do you think the world has learned from this dark era of history?
All right. Everybody put NA here, only because we'll do something similar to this towards the end. So put a quick NA, and then we can move on. Once they come back, yeah. I got one out. Once they come back, got it. There you go. How do you go ahead, scan and come out? All right, let's keep moving. Cam, just come over here, get some paper out, and just start taking notes.
All right,
Yes.
who does this go back to?
Administrators and the principal. Okay. What it takes for the United States to get involved. Make sure you're taking good notes now, especially moving forward. First reason, blockades. Germany announced that they was going to have submarine warfare against Great Britain, so they stopped. So Britain blockaded all German ships from going to America. That's hurt the trade, because remember, the United States was doing trade with who? Everybody, but particularly Germany too. Do I got me on that? Because remember, before 1917, there was a lot of money going towards Germany. So this hurt United States economically. Is I got me on that? That was a very quick note. We good there? So the German blockades was one reason, because Britain blockaded, meaning stopped all German ships going to America. Because again, Great Britain understood that Germany was getting help from the United States. They wanted to stop that. Is that clear? And that makes sense as far as war. So then Germany said, we got to have submarine warfare around Britain since you're trying to mess with us. That leads to the sinking of the Lusitania. You got to know that, the sinking of the Lusitania. So you had the sinking of the USS Maine for the Spanish-American War. That's why we got the Spanish-American War. Then you had the sinking of the Lusitania, which is why we got into World War I. We good so far? Okay. That's all. Everything you got to put here, you have to put the Lusitania. Now, Germany told the United States before the sinking of Lusitania, keep Americans off of British ships. Is there? I got me on that. Now that makes sense from Germany because Germany was giving them a lot of money, so it makes sense in that sense to where you don't want the person you trade with to stop trading with you, right? You don't want that to happen. You want them to continue to support you. So I've seen that to say a lot of things we talk about what Germany did bad. They gave the United States heads up, stop putting your people on British ships. We got that? Then the Lusitania happened, and guess what? About 1,200 passengers was killed, and 128 of those was Americans. So this was going on. Has anyone ever been on a sailboat or like a ship? Has anyone ever been on one? Okay. So now it's just a normal passenger ship. See if I got me on that? But in war, you don't know what's below that ship, do you? As far as cargo. That cargo was supplies. Is that clear there? Germany bombed that ship. America got mad, and Germany was like, we told y'all not to put no people on it. Did I got me on that? Did I follow? Because guess what? On that passenger ship, they found 4,200 cases of ammunition. Was there not a reason to bomb that ship? They had ammunition, right? We good? So the blockade and the sinking of the Lusitania was one reason. And of course, America got mad and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it kind of goes straightforward without happening. But did Germany give them warning? I keep trying to put that out there. Germany gave them warning. Okay. The second was unlimited submarine warfare. Okay. Germany in 1917, again, 1917, that's when the United States entered. Okay. Germany in 1917 said, we're now going to do unlimited submarine warfare, meaning we're going to bomb everything. We got me? This is the second reason. Okay. We passed the Lusitania while we are upset. Now you got this unlimited submarine warfare. Because the blockade was not being successful. They were still getting stuff in and out. So we got to just bomb everything. The third one, and the biggest one, was the Zimmerman note. And I think the movie said that yesterday, didn't it? Didn't it reference Zimmerman note? I feel like it did. All right. The third one was the Zimmerman note, the Zimmerman telegram. In a nutshell, all it did, it said, hey, Mexico, if you fight against the United States, you get back all your territories. Remember the Mexican-American War? Remember the whole Southwest? They could have got that back. Texas, California, Arizona, New Mexico. Y'all remember we talked about that, right? The Zimmerman telegram basically said, you fight on our side, You distract the United States before they fight with you. You win that war, we'll support you and get back all that territory. Not a bad deal for Mexico because they did lose the territory, right? But ultimately, all that did is piss off the United States. You killed a whole bunch of our citizens who were not in the war. You start bombing all ships, including our ships, and then the Zimmerman telegram. Those are your 3 reasons why the United States also ended the war in 1917. Does anybody have any questions so far? Nope. Okay. So, the United States enters the war. All right, so thinking slides. Should we tell the story of World War I with Germany as being the bad guy? Think about everything I just said. Tell me yes or no and why, okay, everybody? Is it really fair for us to tell the story of World War I? I'm not talking about World War II, am I? So we're not talking about Adolf Hitler or World War II yet. Should we really tell this story in the sense that Germany was a bad guy? Based on what you've been talking about so far as the United States, I am not saying that Germany did not do some stuff. This is war. Everybody does stuff in war. But consider everything I just said. Yes or no and why. Really quick, like other people, give you about a minute. Remember, 50% of your grade is your notes, how much and how well you took notes, and then, of course, your Nearpod participation. All right. Any questions so far, you guys? All right, might have us to do a stand-up activity in a little bit, just not yet. We're about halfway there. I know if you're looking at the screen, you see 68 slides. We ain't doing all 68. That's going to what we'll be doing tomorrow. All right. So, how is the war looking for the Allies? It wasn't looking that good. Russia, like I said earlier, left the war in 1917 because of Lenin came and started the Communist Revolution. That's number 1. So, this is another subsection. How is the war looking for the Allies? Not so good. Because again, and everybody is not paying attention, taking notes. Don't expect to get higher than a C right now because y'all been doing this for over 45 minutes. You just ain't gonna probably pass this assignment. Make sure you lock in and just get what you can right at this point. All right. Yeah, my notes are doing pretty good. Yeah, some people not paying attention for like 20 minutes. It's cool. All right. Russia left the war because of the communist power. I mean, not communist power, but communist revolution, and it basically made it at a one-front war for Germany, so all the troops could do was concentrate on France, which was bad because that means you had no forward movement, okay? So it wasn't looking good for the Allies. Everybody got me on that? Once Russia pulled out, that's a big military. Does everybody follow? We always know Russia's always had a great military. Say what you want to say and what you hear in propaganda. Russia got a good military. And Russia also got Russia. No one deals with Russia in the winter because guess what? They're going to win. Russian winners suck. Napoleon couldn't do it, and Adolf Hitler didn't do it in World War II. They have like a natural barrier, okay? All right, so what else happened? United States and people got to start getting motivated. So you start seeing posters like this right here, which would be called propaganda. Make sure you have that name for it, propaganda, and that's good too. We had 3 passes so far, y'all. These propaganda posters is all meant to try to get people riled up. You got me on that? Y'all hear me there? All right. You have to wait till he goes out and you be number 4. And then you be the last one after him. All right. So these are those propaganda posters. The whole goal is to what again? To get people to sign up. That's all we're talking about here. Okay? These are just more of them, and these are all posters. I'm showing these to y'all because guess what? You might see them on the test, right? Did everybody hear me on that? And now on our test, maybe the EOC coming up. Okay? Here are some more, and again, a lot of posters here. This is a poster right here where it says the president says, save food, don't waste it. because everything's going towards a war effort. Belt buckles, food. If you can, donations. You know how we all do like the drives for Thanksgiving, like canned food drives? That's really based on what happened during World War I and World War II. Y'all got me so far on that? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Questions so far? Nope. We good? All right. Keep going. Where we at? Right here. Here we go. All right. More of them. The country needs you to help harvest cotton. What do we use cotton for example? Clothing. You can use it to clean your face, also for cleaning wounds, right? Cotton has a lot of different modes. We need that if you fight in a war. Think about it, right? Do you need metal? Do you need people? So these are all things you're trying to mobilize. Okay. Again, these are all primary documents coming straight from that time period. All right. So now, convincing American people. You had 2 goals for the war. The United States has 2 goals at least. 2 goals for the war. Number 1, it's going to be the war to end all wars. Did that happen? No. We heard about World War II, right? And then we also want to make the world safe for what? Kick a wild guess. It starts with a D. Democracy. You always hear that. You got to make sure you understand. We always got to make sure the world is safe for democracy. We heard in different ways before too. Manifest destiny, things of that nature as well. But we got to do it for 2 reasons. It'll be the war to end all wars. After this war, there'll be no more. Even though we have World War II, which is worse, right? And then we got to save democracy. We still trying to save democracy, aren't we? So I'm just saying, take that into consideration. All right. Can there be any positives from warfare? And this is more so not a no question. I'm just asking you guys this because y'all are young adults. Y'all about to start making decisions. Is that clear there? And I want you to actively think about this because we're in a situation where we have a lot of new technology again. Are y'all listening to what I'm saying? There's a lot of new technology out there right now. And guess what? Somebody wants to test out that technology, don't they? So I'm asking you, is there any positives when it comes to the idea of warfare? Think about that to yourself. Is there any positives maybe using the bomb that's worse than nuclear bomb? Y'all all know what nuclear bombs are, right? We've seen pictures of what that is. It is asinine to think there's not something worse at this point. Because guess what? Our technology is 10 times better than the 1940s, ain't it? It's got to be something worse. I don't even want to find out. But you got to ask yourself, is that something you really want to look at and go into? All right. So on the home front, so what's going on here on the home front? Make sure you notice this down because this is where the heart of what we're talking about is. On the home front, many individuals didn't have jobs, have them now. Because guess what? Now we got a reason to now mobilize. If I clear there, new jobs are being created. So one positive of war is that new jobs now become available. Women start working now during the World War I. Mexican Americans start working now during World War I. African Americans start working now during World War I. And none of these individuals had jobs. Someone get that door for me? None of these people had jobs. So the American government expanded its economy and allowed more people to come into work. Does everybody follow me so far on that? Yes? And again, those 3 groups, they never was working prior to this. What's up?
Word from we have an assignment today that the documentation is not in CCLS.
Okay, hold on 1 second. All right. Has everybody got questions? Everybody good so far?
She gives the notes, but that assignment is supposed to read the given speeches, so we don't have to get the given speeches.
Okay. So I know where this is coming from, but I'm not going to be able to pull it. I'll just say y'all don't do that part. Just omit it. Okay. Do all the Cornell notes, but you're not going to be able to do that part without the. If I'm able to pull it, I'll pull it for you. All right. So, women. We're going to talk about these groups. The first part is women. Women now is able to go work. Y'all have to understand, this is the first time in U.S. history where women actually was able to go get jobs. And not just any jobs, but factory jobs. So they was able to get jobs that did not fulfill a stereotype of a woman only be able to do so much. Is everybody clear there? Is everybody follow? Now, some of this is because, guess what? You didn't have a lot of men out there working. But at the same time, they was able to go out there and fill this, which was going to really kind of push for the women's revolution is coming up in a couple more years as far as how we're learning right now. This may also have maybe led to the 19th Amendment, because remember we talked about that's going to be a topic coming up in 16A. So now you have the women with the right to vote. They want to be able to vote when they're out there working, making money, right? When you want, again, ladies, y'all do know you got the right to vote, right? And but you know you did not always have that right to vote. In fact, you was one of the last to get the right to vote. Okay? Protect democracy for the world, all right? African Americans or Black Americans. Black soldiers were still serving in segregated units, but because of the Great Migration, thousands of workers was able to move north and work in factory jobs. Because they can keep us in mind. You still have plantation life, picking cotton. Is that right clear there? All into the 1920s, 1930s. If you're a Black American, you were still most likely in the South, dealing with segregation and Jim Crow, dealing with getting lynchings and things of that nature, and still working on plantations. Is that right, follow? Not making any money because you're doing more of a system of sharecropping. You're not making anything. Where you go to the north and work in factories. This is why you have the Harlems. This is why you have the Detroits and Chicago. Is that right clear there? We all got me. Okay. All right. So the United States needed supplies. So what happens is that the United States provided food and money for fresh troops needed to win the war. So they, in 1917, they mobilized. The country got behind everybody, and we got to make sure that we're able to give them food, people, but food and other supplies to make sure we can win this war. This war here ain't optional. We got to get this in. Most of y'all butcher papers are looking pretty decent. Some questionable, but looking pretty decent for the most part. All right. Now, I'm going to just say this for a presentation. So, any of my first stage slides have a whole bunch of words to them. They're pretty much short little clippings. That's how you want to do a presentation. You don't want to have it like someone's reading a book. Is everybody got me on that? When it was more, it's because it was like an article or something. That makes sense to everybody? Okay. Keep going. All right. You also want to enforce loyalty. So listen to this real quick. All right. The Espionage Act of 1917. Write this down. Write this down. The Espionage Act of 1917 and the Sedition Act of 1918. Same thing that happened with John Adams. Talk bad about the war, you got put in jail. Is it right clear there? You do not talk about the United States in World War I negatively. That is the Espionage Act and the Sedition Act of 1918. It punished those against the war. And a lot of those were labor leaders, like Samuel Gompers and others. Not Samuel Gompers. I mean another name. Has everybody got that? The Espionage and the Sedition Acts. And they're making connections. This is the same thing they had with the Alien Sedition Act with John Adams' presidency, which was back in the 1700s. Is that right clear there? I'm telling you that because history repeats itself, y'all. If you think something like this won't happen again, and think about it, it's scary now with social media. It's a reason why there's such a big fight about free speech and social media. I know some of y'all ain't paying no attention to it, but you can kind of say what you want still. There's a fight saying you're not going to be able to do that. And you know, some people go ham on social media. They would say things there they would never say in person. Did I got me on that? So I'm saying that because don't feel comfy. Don't feel comfortable and safe. And I saw what happened at least 2 times. I know about at least 3 or 4 it happened. Just was worded differently. Picture that. All right. So again, this is kind of going back to this. I'm gonna tell you about this different ways they did. This is down going over the standard. Espionage Act, you gotta know that right there real quick. All right. Sedition Act makes it illegal to talk disloyal statements about the United States. Espionage Act passed in response to fears that German secret agents might try to weaken the war effort. The act makes it illegal to interfere with the draft. Is that right clear there? That means, again, it wasn't a big draft in World War I. It still was a draft, though. Is everybody clear there? Does everybody understand what the draft is? That means, again, like I said, all y'all in this classroom, especially you closer to the age of 18, the United States will call you or send you a letter. You are now being drafted into the United States military. Guess what your butt got to go do now? Report to the military station for check-in. If you don't, it's a federal crime. You don't want to go to federal jails. No, the draft is still very much legal. It's random, Social Security, or anything else, but yes, there's still very much a draft. Y'all don't vote to complain about it, so who cares? I'm saying that so sarcastically, by the way, too, okay? And then you wonder, just saying. Sweetheart, if you only knew. You only knew.
You said our votes don't got nothing to do with it.
No, I didn't. I said that the Electoral College votes for the president. Everything else is popular vote.
Right, I'm talking about the president.
The president ain't the one that don't make the laws. That's wrong. Congress makes laws. Congress is popular vote. You have 100% say on them. You kick every one of them out you want to.
Wait.
You need to know about espionage and sedition. Those are the main two. And we already talked about those two. Okay. So just because of clarity, because we talk about voting. The Electoral College votes for the president. I always say there's not too much popular vote. They try to go with popular, it doesn't really happen. Everything else is popular vote. Everybody got me on that? So if you don't like the idea that you have a Selective Service Act, keep in mind that is something I wanted to discuss with y'all today, but we gotta go through the other part of it because I know y'all would have done this homework. That's something that you can't always write to Congress and they can actually try to make an amendment to. But again, we don't vote. We can then complain when something comes against us we don't like, i.e. abortions, i.e. medical marijuana. Now, what did I say? Medical marijuana? Medical marijuana. You want these things, but then you say you don't vote, and then you want to complain, or you want to have higher pay. Don't complain when you don't get stuff. The system ain't perfect, but it definitely got a lot of people brainwashed saying, oh, it ain't going to work. But I'm going to complain. Careful with it. All right, I do not remember what this video is about, so we might be skipping it. Listen up. I don't know what this is about. This is less than a minute, so you got a 60-second video.
His critics.
So, I'm sorry. You need to take notes on this. Y'all got me on this? So 3 facts about Eugene Debs. 3 facts about Eugene Debs. And this is in your standards as well. Remember I said there were some people that didn't really like what was going on as far as World War, right? Eugene Debs is one of them. Give me 3 facts about Eugene Debs based on this video. 3 facts. 3 facts about Eugene Debs.
Called him the most dangerous man in America.
He wanted to be dangerous. I mean, he felt like the system needed drastic change, and if people thought he was dangerous, so be it.
But Eugene V. Debs emerged as a powerful voice for workers and the downtrodden.
He shares some of his deepest beliefs about the nature of democracy, about the promise of American life, and the failure of our leaders to work towards those goals.
Speaking his voice caused Debs his freedom.
The photographs of Debs in prison are just full of the irony of America. A socialist, a convict, running for the presidency and getting 1 million votes.
But in the end, he considered himself an unapologetic revolutionist.
All right, so Eugene Debs was a socialist who was speaking out against World War I. He got arrested because of what act? Anybody want to tell me which act? Was it espionage or sedition? Which one do you think he got arrested for? Sedition. It was sedition. Because remember, espionage talk about Germans coming in. So he got arrested under the Sedition Act. But he's running for president. So I bring this up because dude was on the presidential ballot and he got votes while in jail. Is everybody clear there? He was running for president. He got votes while in jail. And he used to talk bad about the war. He didn't agree with the war. That's Eugene Debs. Everybody clear there? That's pretty straightforward. Eugene Debs, those are the main things I would say you can add in for him. That's a story like I don't think about till I teach Eugene Debs. I don't really know because that's not something like they teach us in law school because it doesn't happen. That's exactly the point. Like the question is like, can you run for president if you're in jail? Because one thing is saying again, you're innocent until proven guilty. There got me on that. So you could be on trial, But if you're convicted, can you run for president? I don't know because he did. Eugene Debs. Did I got me on that? And that's not something that doesn't normally happen, so we never study it. I don't know. I got to look into that. All right. These are some of the things that's being done to help with the war effort. Liberty bonds, you got to know that because that'll come up in both World War I and World War II. That was basically a special war bond set to support the cause. That basically trying to raise money. Price control, basically the federal government try to control how much things cost. Is everybody got me on that? Because again, if everybody's broke, would they be able to go spend money to help the war? I'm asking, would they? No. They also set up rationing. So that's will be the distribution of goods. We'll make sure that people actually have that. And also daylight savings time. You know, the thing that some of us hate, some of us love. That got established during World War I as well, as far as turning clocks ahead 1 hour in the summer to help lower fuel consumption. That's why we have daylight savings time. Is everybody clear there? Does that make sense to everybody? During World War I, we're trying to lower fuel consumption. For the sake of your notes, no, we're almost done, okay, y'all? You should be running very close out of room right now. Okay? All right. The Great Migration, kind of spoke about this already. The main thing you need to know here is this. From 1910 to 1920, approximately 1.2 million Black Americans left the South to the North. Did I got me on this so far? From 1910 to 1920, approximately 1.2 million Blacks left the South. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, going to the north, i.e. Illinois, Chicago, Michigan, Detroit, New York, Harlem. I'm saying those for a certain reason because it's going to be important things we're going to talk about with those areas. And they're trying to get new jobs. They're running away from Jim Crow and violence, and they wanted jobs. They have factory jobs in those areas during World War I. Does everybody got me on that? And if you look at anybody that is of Black ancestry or Black American in the South, they probably got some family somewhere in the North, meaning one of those three cities, Chicago, Detroit, or Harlem, or in New York, and that's the reason why. Does everybody got me on that? It wasn't accidental. And then also they went to the West Coast as far as San Francisco and LA too, because they had jobs out there on the docks. Does everybody follow? Y'all got me there? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to say this. Jim Crow may not have been as bad up there and in the West Coast, but it was still there. Okay, everybody? Everybody hear me on that? And y'all gonna see that tomorrow. We're gonna talk about some of the race riots that happened during this time period. This is gonna be a video on the Great Migration. Yeah. Things you need to know about the Great Migration. Does anybody have any questions based on what I said? Do y'all feel like I need to review a little bit more? Because that is on your test and something you need to know. Y'all good or y'all want to review some more? Okay, sound like y'all good. And it's a video I can watch. You just type it in YouTube, Great Migration is gonna come up. The EOC is December 5th. For this unit test, it's gonna be on next Thursday. It's gonna be the first half. We have to break up unit 5 because there's so much material. So the first part is gonna be next Thursday. Everybody hear me there? Okay. All right, so listen up. Answer the questions here in the Nearpod.
The Harlem Hellfighters, World War I.
What do you already know about the Harlem Hellfighters? A little, a lot, or nothing. Those are the only three options. A little, a lot, nothing. A little, a lot, or nothing. If you need to refresh your Nearpod, go ahead and do so. A little, a lot, or nothing. That's all you got to put in. A little, a lot, or nothing. A little, a lot, or nothing. All right, listen up. You got 3 more questions to answer here.
The 369th Infantry Regiment was constituted on June 2nd, 1913, in the New York Army National Guard as the 15th New York Infantry Regiment, and would become known as the first African American regiment to serve with the American Expeditionary Forces during World War I. Soon, they would prepare for overseas service in Europe, and by December, they had arrived in France. A white officer, Colonel William Hayward, who was one of the original organizers of the 369th, would continue to lead them in France. He respected his troops and dedicated himself to their well-being. On March 1, 1918, the 15th Infantry Regiment, the New York Army National Guard, was redesignated as the 369th Infantry Regiment. Numbers higher than 200 were usually for troops who had been drafted, but as they had volunteered, this was an insult.
All right, true or false? The soldiers of the 15th New York Army National Guard Regiment were drafted into service. Is it true or false? Let's put your answer in. You got 50-50 chance here. Give about 30 seconds and we move on. All right. The correct answer was what here, y'all? False was the correct answer. Gotta pay attention, people.
While they awaited a decision as to whether they would get to see combat duty, they continued labor service duties. The regiment was finally given the opportunity to fight on the front lines by General John J. Pershing in April 1918. They were assigned to the French Army because of racial segregation in the U.S. Army and discrimination regarding white soldiers performing combat duty with black soldiers. Unlike the United States, the French did not racially segregate black troops or have such concerns. They also welcomed any Allied help they could get as they became short on troops. The American weapons and equipment of the 369th were also exchanged for French equivalents, such as the Berthier rifle and the Adrian helmet. Under the French Army, the Harlem Hellfighters would soon enter the trenches in a combative role.
All right. With which Allied army did the Harlem Hellfighters serve with? Couple more seconds. All right, the correct answer here was what, y'all? B, the French. A little bit better on this one.
May 1918 would see a famous event in the history of the Harlem Hellfighters, as Private Henry Johnson and Private Needham Roberts sat in a hole in the ground, in the dark, on guard duty, listening for the enemy. A sniper fired at Johnson, and then later, he heard wire cutters clipping through the barbed wire defenses. A German patrol of around 24 men started attacking. Roberts and Johnson were both injured. Outnumbered, they lobbed grenades and fired their rifles at the enemy. Johnson's French rifle jammed from the wrong ammunition, so he resorted to using it as a club on a German soldier who was trying to take Roberts as a prisoner. Johnson battled on with his last resort, a bolo knife, used against a German trying to kill him. Eventually, the Germans retreated when Johnson's reinforcements were approaching. Reports say Johnson killed 4 German soldiers and wounded several others before passing out from 21 wounds. These actions became famous in the press, and Johnson and Roberts received France's highest award for bravery, the Croix de Guerre. On September 26, 1918, the Harlem Hellfighters saw combat during the Meuse-Argonne offensive. They captured a town held by Germans on the first day, with heavy fighting reducing 700 men to 150. On September 30th, they captured a key railroad junction, which cost the regiment further casualties. That night, they were then relieved by the French from the front lines. In October, as the German army was on the retreat, the Harlem Hellfighters and the French army pushed forward. They became the first Allied unit to reach the Rhine River on November 17, 1918. Overall, the 369th spent 191 days in combat, longer than any other American unit in the war, never lost a foot of ground, and never took a man prisoner. The nickname of Hellfighters was given to them by the Germans because of this fact. 200,000 African-American soldiers would serve overseas, with most suffering back-breaking labor in non-combative roles, while combat troops were around 42,000. The actions of the 369th Regiment in the First World War would change the American public opinion on African American soldiers.
What do you find the most surprising about this video? So, of everything that you guys had here, I'll give you about a solid minute. Tell me what you found to be the most surprising, because I know most of y'all have never heard about the Harlem Hellfighters. You're welcome. Just all right, throwing your answers in. We're almost done, people. All right, let's get ready to move on. Finish this up. All right, the last point you want to know about is going to be Woodrow Wilson and the 14 points. This is the last section we got, and this is it. Woodrow Wilson and the 16 points. 14 points. I didn't mean 16. All right, so basically, Woodrow Wilson was the president of the United States, and when he went to Vienna to try to talk about the war and the end of the war, again, y'all saw that in the video, because remember, Germany was basically blamed for everything, right? He basically came up with 14 promises, including freedom of the seas and the League of Nations to work for peace. What we now have, everybody heard of the United Nations, right? The United Nations is based off the League of Nations. And I'm not saying that the United Nations is perfect, but at least we haven't had another world war yet. Okay? So, this was Woodrow Wilson's plan to stop another war from occurring. Y'all with me still? Okay. That's all it was. I mean, just that's straightforward. Let's get into it now, more in detail. All right. The first 5 points were general in nature and may be summarized as follows. All right. Get some popsicle sticks. Where'd my head go? All right. Shanna, can you read number 1? Covenants. Yeah, first we have open covenants of peace. Kamani, can you read number 2? Freedom of the seas. KC, can you read number 3? So as much as possible, remove all economic barriers between nations. Anthony, number 4. So we basically going to reduce how much arms everybody got. Is everybody got me on that? That's what that means. Number 5, the last one is going to be, for this one is Jacob. Got him. JJ, what's number 5? Yes, impartial adjustments to colonial claims. So that's basically saying we're not going to be very specific about how we divide up everything. It's kind of be impartial. Let's just kind of do it fairly. Is everybody got me on that? Kind of like how we said we were going to do with China, which we did. Okay. All right, number 6. Cassidy, what you got for number 6?
Evacuation and general restoration of conquered territory.
All right, so basically what we're going to do is take out And let's reconstruct everything as far as what was taken from Russia. Number 7. All right. Sovereignty, yes. So we're going to preserve what land Belgium already has and should be having. Number 8 is the settlement of the Elastic Lorraine. I'm not putting that in notes because I don't know what that's talking about, so it's definitely being your test, okay? That is far past this lower part of my mind. I'm not a historian in that sense. Number 9, Abby. Yes, so what we're going to do is we're going to redraw what is actually Italy. Does everybody got me on that as far as that country? And then, Nicholas, what do you got for number 10?
Division of Austria-Hungary and conforming to its nationality.
So we're going to divide out how much area Austria-Hungary has, and we're going to make sure that we understand that, hey, this is what it's going to be. So these are some of the 10 points. Everybody got me on that? Okay. Now, again, Woodrow Wilson's 10 points, you definitely need to make sure you know. All right, the last 14 is going to be number 14, General Association of Nations, established independent Poland with the access to the sea and Turkish control of their own peoples and freedom. Do you need to know all 14 of these points? No, but do you need to know what they did, what they're trying to do? Yes. And what was the main goal of 14 points, y'all? Stop another war. Is everybody clear? All right. This was all good. The peace treaty was signed. The problem was the Big Four couldn't agree on it. Is everybody got me on that? Germany wasn't invited to the meeting. Germany was expected the treaty to be based on Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. It wasn't. Is everybody clear on this so far? And again, this is now set up for Adolf Hitler. Is everybody clear there? Does everybody follow me on this? We create I'm talking about everybody after World War I. We created a situation where Adolf Hitler could come into power because Germany was so jacked up. Does everybody follow? Okay. And again, say a lot of bad things about Adolf Hitler. He got his people back on his feet, and they was together. Now after that, I can't say nothing else positive. But he did get Germany back on his feet. Okay. So France wanted to totally humiliate Germany, maybe even totally destroy them as a nation. Italy wanted the territory that has been promised to them from the German side. Wilson wanted to form the grounds of the League of Nations. So basically, everybody wanted their own thing. Is everybody got me on that? This is when it ultimately led to World War II. No one could agree on nothing. Y'all follow me there? And when no one could agree on nothing, you still got things festering, another war is going to come up. Okay, we're not going to play this video here. All right. The treaty said that Germany had to take full responsibility. They had to reduce their army. They had to pay. Anybody remember from yesterday how much money? Was it a couple million, right? They didn't even pay off to 2010. Is that not a severe penalty? The war happened ended in 1918. You didn't finish paying off your debt to 2010. That's how much Germany was punished. Is there a guy me on that? Okay. So basically what happened is that at the end of the day, this was not fair to Germany because not everybody in Germany was bad, right? Not everybody was there fighting. And you got to think about things about like before the shipping, they was giving warnings. So Germany was really decimated. Things were really bad. And we all know what happened in 1939, right? World War II starting and Adolf Hitler takes rise. Is everybody clear there? And think about this, 1918, 1939, is that a long time? Not really. Not really. All right, so this is a post-World War II map, World War map. These are where all your boundaries are. And called the main effects of the World War. Everything is now redrawn. League of Nations is formed, but not officially. One reason the League of Nations fell is that no other country, this thing you got to know, why did the League of Nations fail? The United States didn't back it up. Does everybody got me on that? Does everybody hear me there? The League of Nations fell because the United States did not back it up, meaning they wanted to be neutral again. They didn't want to be involved in other people's problems, and that's the main reason why the League of Nations never occurred. Because the thing about it, the League of Nations, will we have a United Nations? Okay? All right, wrapping it up. Casualties of the war, who died the most? Germany, by a large portion. Who died the least? Well, was the United States in there very long? Couple months, right? But still, they died by far the least. The next highest is going to be Great Britain, and it's not even close about how many people died. Keep in mind, deaths are still deaths, though, aren't they? I mean, it's never good for anybody to be dying in a war. All right. No, we good there. Let's just talk about the death toll. All right, right here, I just want to remind you guys, the Unit 5 Cliff Notes, because we covered so much material, this could be really your saving grace. Everybody got me there? Everybody got me there? Yep. All right, make sure you have your names and everything on your notes. Y'all can go ahead and log out of this Nearpod. That's all I got for you as far as World War I and the U.S. involvement.